Plot. You ever heard of Plot? And you know what's great about knowing the lyrics to a Britney Spears song? It can save lives, okay? It's, the plot is plotting. It does that in this movie. I don't know what to tell you. You've all heard the Madam Web movie was the worst movie of 2024. And now you're in a pickle because you don't want to watch the worst movie of 2024. But also, how do you know it's that bad? Well, why don't we find out together? My name is Rose with Fiction Fixation Podcast, and I am here to recap it for you. The movie opens in 1973 with a white woman searching the Peruvian Amazon forest for a very rare, very valuable spider while a baby is actively trying to come out of her. Truly just girly things. This guy is her security detail, and for some reason, she tells him how the spider that she's looking for has peptides that can supercharge cellular structure. The guy is like, bro, that sounds like superhero shit. And she snaps, don't be ridiculous. This movie's about science. The second this woman finds the very rare, very valuable, and very CGI spider, the guy turns on her. Her security detail turns on her. She tries to fight him off, but she's pregnant. And also he has a weapon which goes off and leaves her on the ground while he runs away. Like the beta male he is. The legendary Spider-Men of the Peruvian forest. We've all heard of them. They take the woman to this cave and they have one of the spiders actually bite her to save the baby. The mom doesn't make it. We fast forward to 2003, New York City. The baby has grown up to be Cassie Webb. She grew up in foster care, but she has this very cool vintage briefcase that is full of her mother's research from Peru. So just to be clear, at some point in 1973, someone put a Peruvian-born American citizen infant on a plane with a briefcase full of her dead mom's scientific research, and it survived 18 years in the foster care system. Because plot. Being a paramedic in New York City means that Cassie gets to do really cool shit, like the time there's a car dangling off a bridge and she gets into the car to save the driver. Unfortunately, the car goes tumbling into the river, and here we are. It's our inciting incident. Cassie has this weird experience underwater. There's like a neural network web forming around her in the water. She hears a voice that very clearly says, "Only you can change the future." Her ambulance partner, Ben, pulls her out of the river and resuscitates her. She was apparently gone for 3 minutes. Now that she's back at the ambulance, Cassie has her first deja vu moment. It's like the last 30 seconds wound themselves in play again. And so it has begun. We don't know what's going on at this point. How could we know? What are Madam Web's powers again? Our bad guy, the one who stole the spider from mom, also lives in New York City. And we know he is now rich because he's wearing a tux and he's headed to the opera with a very hot date. He takes his date up to his penthouse apartment that has a terrarium with exotic plants and also that very rare, very CGI spider that he stole from Peru. Such a bad boy. That night, he wakes up from a nightmare where 3 girls dressed in spider outfits, like superhero outfits, take him out, steal his spider. He wakes up and tells his one-night stand that he's been having this nightmare for years. She says, "What a horrible nightmare." And he snaps, "It's not a dream. I'm going to be murdered one day." 0 to 60, a little delusional, but it's a man, so it kind of fits the stereotype. Seemingly out of nowhere, he tells his date that he has rare and important technology that would be very valuable to, say, the NSA. And while he's telling his date this, she's looking very guilty. And she's like, as she reaches towards her purse like an NSA agent would. The bad guy poisons her with his touch. He apparently has a neurotoxin that he can transmit via touch, which is so weird because they just banged and she's fine, but plot. You ever heard of plot? Right before she dies, he forces her to give him the passcode to her phone. Everyone knows that every NSA agent's phone has access to very rare, for the time, remember this is 2003, rare technology that gives you access to all the security systems and security footage in New York City. And you can turn around and run facial recognition software on them and find anyone. Because that's what the bad guy wants. He wants to find these 3 girls that keep killing him in his nightmare. And so he probably goes on like Fiverr or Craigslist and he hires a hacker person. Side note, the actress that plays the hacker, no shade, she does not look like a hacker to me. I'm stereotyping. Does this look like a hacker to you? It's just not the vibes. I don't know. I apologize if that's offensive to anyone who identifies as a hacker. But you know what? Do you, girly pop, girl boss, gaslight? By this point in the movie, Cassie, our main character, has now realized that she is having visions of the future, but she can't control them, and she doesn't even know if she can trust them. She is on her way to a funeral because one of her coworkers got taken out by a semi-truck. We all know semi-trucks are out here always swiping people left and right in movies. Cassie's sitting in a train and she starts having visions of a bad guy coming through the train and killing these girls that are on the train, these 3 girls. Cassie gets these girls off the train. These girls don't know what's going on. They start screaming out that they're being kidnapped. It's not until they see a man crawling on the ceiling that they realize that it's serious. This is serious shit. So they get out into the street and they steal a cab. Our reluctant hero, Cassie, decides, okay, girly pops, I'm going to drop you off with your parents. Unfortunately, the 3 girls, Julia, Anya, and Maddie, they all conveniently have absentee parents. So Cassie cannot just drop them off at home. They're not going to be okay. And also on the cab radio, there is a news report about a crazy white lady who kidnapped 3 girls from a subway station and also assaulted police officers. No one saw the spider guy crawling on the ceiling, beating up police officers. New Yorkers don't snitch. What can I tell you? Anyway, Cassie drives these 3 girls in the cab to a patch of woods in New Jersey, and she tells them to hang tight because she's got some research to do. Cassie goes home back to her apartment. I think she lives in Queens, and she goes through her mom's vintage briefcase. She does a little snooping, a little research, and she learns from her mom's journals about the legendary Spider-Men of the Peruvian forest. These are guys that can climb walls and climb ceilings. So Cassie, she's using this. She's putting 2 and 2 together that this guy that she's seeing in her visions killing these girls is probably one of those dudes. This movie has a lot of fail-safes just in case anyone in it is an idiot. There is a literal selfie of Cassie's mom and her security detail, who is the guy that Cassie saw killing the girls. They're just like looking for spiders in Peru. So back in the woods, the 3 girls who are now alone, they've decided that they're hungry. They remember seeing a diner that they passed on the way there. So they trekked through the woods to the diner. There is a random guy sitting at the diner holding up a newspaper that has a picture of the 3 of them on the front of the newspaper. Big words say kidnapped. This happened, 3 hours ago, and there's already a newspaper article that's been printed and distributed. This guy who is holding this newspaper and recognizes them, he calls the authorities. But of course, our bad guy has a hacker, a girl boss who intercepts this call so that the bad guy can assure the man that he'll be right there. He'll get these girls in a second. Cassie gets back to the woods. The girls are gone, but somehow she knows to track them through a path in the woods to the diner. At the diner, Cassie finds the girls keeping a low profile. Just kidding, they're dancing on a tabletop inexplicably for a bunch of teenage boys. What are you doing? You're setting the movement back. Just don't do that. For free, for free. Anyway, the bad guy pops up and he kills every single one of the girls, and then he impales Cassie with some object. I can't remember what it was, but do not worry, Cassie is not dead. With a gasp, Cassie finds herself alive and well back in the forest, because what we just witnessed was but a mere vision. So Cassie knows what to do now. She gets in the cab and she races to the diner. The song playing on the radio is Britney Spears' Toxic. It was the song that was playing when the bad guy popped up and killed everyone. And you know what's great about knowing the lyrics to a Britney Spears song? It can save lives, because now Cassie knows exactly at which verse to really plow the car into the diner, pinning the bad guy down, grabbing the girls, and getting the hell out of there. Cassie takes the girls to a motel to lay low, and something weird happens that night. Cassie has some weird vision where she is actually visiting the diner, the destroyed diner, and the bad guy is there, and he gives his villain monologue story to Cassie and tells her what his plans are. They get together and they go over each other's plans, and the bad guy tells her, listen, these girls are going to be very powerful one day. If you don't mind, I'd love to kill them. And Cassie's like, nah, bro, not on my watch. watch, and then Cassie wakes up. So Cassie decides that she needs more information. Something extra weird is happening. Cassie takes the girls to Ben's house, her ambulance partner, and she asks him to watch the girls for a couple days because Cassie's got to go to Peru. Okay, she's got research to do. The internet is not a thing. She needs to go physically, boots on the ground journalism. You get it. Also, the ambulance partner, Ben, his wife is pregnant. We should definitely put a pin in that because movies love to use pregnant women as plot devices. Cassie goes to Peru. She has her mom's journal, so that's how she knows where to go. In this movie, Peru is a giant forest with a single road running through it. Don't ask questions. That's Peru. Cassie finds one of the legendary Spider-Man. He was kind of the main guy at the beginning of the movie that saved her mom. It's really weird because in the beginning of the movie, this guy looked wild and honestly kind of iconic. He was like painted in red with like weird like branches wrapped all over his body. And yet when Cassie meets him in the present day, he is wearing khakis and a white button-down shirt, and it's never explained. This guy takes Cassie to like this spring water source in a cave, and he tells her that she needs to tap into her powers, and the only way she can do that is if she heals her inner wounds. Not through therapy, silly, but by having her spirit travel through time so she could see her past. Cassie does just that. Her spirit travels through time and witnesses her mother pregnant with her at a doctor's office being told that baby Cassie is not looking good. She's not going to make it. She has some sort of neurological disorder. Don't ask questions. It's science. Cassie realizes that the reason her mom was in the Peruvian forest looking for this spider at 9 months pregnant wasn't for some sort of like accolade as a scientist, but it was to save her baby. And that really endears Cassie to her dead mom. I just keep thinking that Cassie's mom had 9 months to find the spider and she waited 8 months and 29 days. But anyway, Cassie actually gets to hug the manifestation of her mom in the past and she's healed. That's how trauma works. I don't know if you've ever had it, but if you hug your mom, your trauma is released. After this, the Spider-Man tells Cassie, listen, girly pop, this guy you're up against, he's really bad. He's got superhuman powers, supernatural strength and speed and all this stuff. You don't have any of that, but you know what you have? You have a brain and you can think your way out of things. Okay. Does that sound exciting? Does that sound like the plot of a superhero movie? Because that's what it is. Girly pop, go out there, gaslight girl boss. So back in New York, the girls are in quite the conundrum because they're at the house of Cassie's ambulance partner, Ben, and his very pregnant wife, who of course goes into labor. Who could have expected that? No one, all of us. We all expected that. She goes into labor. And now the girls decide that they have to come with Ben and his wife. They have to go with them to the hospital. This woman that they've known for 3 days, baby that they ostensibly have no reason to care about. The three girls have to go to the hospital. So they get in the car and they drive towards the hospital. On the way to the hospital, CCTV cameras pick up the girls from the window of the car, and now the bad guy tracks them to their exact location. Bad guy is on his way. He's hauling ass. Cassie gets back to New York in the nick of time, starts having visions, and realizes that the girls are in danger. Cassie steals an ambulance and races through the streets of New York. She goes through, I'm assuming, some sort of parking lot because she flies out of the parking lot and goes through a Calvin Klein ad, lands on top of the bad guy, pinning him down just as he was trying to kill the girls. Second time this guy gets Scooby-Dooed by a four-wheeled vehicle. He's a fucking joke. Cassie gets the girls into the ambulance and gets out of there. Pregnant woman, is she okay? Is the baby gonna be okay? This movie isn't about her, okay? Keep your eyes on the prize. Cassie and the girls are speeding away in the ambulance. Cassie gets this genius idea of having the girls charge up the AED, whatever it's called, the shocking thing, and tells the girls to put it up to the roof. I really love that. It shocks the Spider-Man when he lands on it. It was kind of campy and funny, and I really like that. Cassie has a vision of the girls being taken away to safety by a medevac helicopter at the roof of a building, and she knows exactly where this is. So Cassie picks up the ambulance radio and she calls in a code 30 at Dockside, Queens. That must be the code to get a medevac helicopter. The Dockside in Queens is actually an abandoned warehouse full of very flammable fireworks, just giant crates of them. This is kind of significant because there was a scene in the beginning of the movie where a bunch of people got hurt, and I think someone died because of this like really unstable work environment at this warehouse. And then the city just decided to just leave all this flammable, very dangerous stuff like there. No security guards, just plot, baby. Have you heard of plot? This is what plot looks like. So Cassie and the girls come up with a plan. They're going to lure Spider-Man, is that his name? They're going to lure the bad guy to this place, and they're going to take dynamites, shove them into the crates with all the fireworks, and they're going to let things go off as the bad guy comes in. Okay, Cassie and the girls run up to the roof. Explosions are happening. Everything's going according to plan until things get a little out of control, as explosions tend to do. And the roof of the building is super unstable given that the inside is exploding. The medevac helicopter that showed up right on time doing their job, clocking in, cannot land. Okay, not in these work conditions. Fireworks are piercing through the roof like it's a freaking piece of paper. Cassie is busy. Okay, girly pop is multitasking. She is trying to keep everyone alive. She's having multiple visions of things happening to the girls. She's yanking one this way, pulling one of that another way, rolling around. Bad guy is there, trying to kill people really badly. As we have established, he sucks at being a bad guy. If there was a car, he would get run over again, but there's not a car in this roof. So instead, he just fails to kill 3 very mortal and completely helpless girls, and Cassie, who has no extraordinary strength other than being able to see things that are about to happen 30 seconds from now. At one point, the 3 girls are in danger, and the bad guy, who loves those vibes, he laughs at Cassie and says, "You cannot save them all." Bitch, you thought, because Cassie splits off into 3 versions of herself, and she saves every single girl. The bad guy is pissed, okay, but it doesn't matter because he's about to go night-night. He's underground, and this giant P from, I think, a Pepsi sign or something, one of those huge like neon light signs, falls on top of him, squishes him like a tomato. We love to see it. In the commotion, Cassie ends up getting just a little bit blown away by fireworks. She ends up in the river. Cassie's being blinded by these fireworks, and she ends up drowning. She gets pulled out of the water, and the young girls do CPR on her, which is really sweet, full circle moment, because Cassie's the one that taught them how to do CPR earlier in the movie. Now we fast forward to Cassie. She is now blind and in a wheelchair, presumably back in her apartment in Queens, but there is like a Doctor Who style window that we did not see earlier in the movie. She is giving major Professor Xavier vibes. Love to see it. There's this campy line where Cassie tells the girls, oh yeah, the girls are there because it's like I don't know if she's like their pseudo mom now or what, or if they are forming like a vigilante group or whatever, but Cassie tells the girls that even though she's blind, she can still see them. She can still see their future. She says, "I see you standing up for what you believe in, never giving up, discovering that you're more powerful than you ever knew." And while Cassie is giving this really beautiful speech, there's a montage of the girls being superheroes. They're doing badass shit. We love to see it. It's really cute. It's like a live, laugh, love moment. It really is. That's where the movie leaves us. You could really feel that they had hopes and aspirations. The people who made this movie, they had light in their eyes, and they really thought perhaps that they could make multiple movies following these superhero girls. I just think that they sold a superhero movie that was not a superhero movie. This felt like an adventure prequel to a superhero movie. Guys, there's like a very simple formula for a superhero movie. Like, come on, guys. Like, Marvel has been writing the book on this for years. Like, just read it. Side note, if you're going to make a superhero movie that's not really a superhero movie, at least give us a good villain, for the love of Jesus. Anyway, a lot of people were saying that this was like the worst movie of the year and all this, and it wasn't that bad. Like, everyone was being really dramatic, I'll be honest with you. If there is a movie that is the worst movie that was ever made, a movie that is unwatchable, because that's a bad movie to me is a movie that is unwatchable. If there is a movie that I deem to be unwatchable, that on my deathbed, like the day I die, I'm going to be saying these words: Jilly, starring J-Lo and Ben Affleck, is the worst movie ever made. Yeah, that's a movie. So I'm always holding movies up to that one when people are saying it's that a movie's the worst thing ever. Is it as bad as Jilly? Not by a million thousand miles. Are you kidding me? This movie was fun. Jilly made me want to die. Anyway, Madam Web was stupid. It didn't make sense, and it was obviously destroyed in post-production. It was obviously pulled apart by Hollywood execs that were trying to like shove people in it and pull people out of it and like just make pieces that looked really pretty separately, and then you put them together and they made no sense. So you know what? It's fine. If you want to go watch it, it's not going to kill you. It might kill some brain cells, but let's be honest, you lost some watching these videos anyway. If you loved my recap, please make sure to check out our podcast, Fiction Fixation Podcast. We recap movies every single week, me and my co-host Courtney. It's a vibe, so much fun. It's a way to disassociate at work. Okay, you got your headphones on, you're staring at a spreadsheet, your boss walks by. He thinks you're working, but no, sir. You're watching a movie inside your brain. And that is called feeling joy on the clock. It's a life hack. Anyway, thanks for watching. Comment below. Did you watch Madam Web? What did you think of it? Was it really that bad? What is the worst movie that you've ever seen? Because maybe I want to check it out and see if it's really that bad. Okay, bye.